So we'll do a couple more practice problems with two-step equations based off of what we did in the last video. So just a couple more to practice. Two-step equations. Why don't we do 4x plus 7 equals 35. Okay, 4x plus 7 equals 35. Again, two-step equations means we're going to have two different steps that we need to do before we can get x all by itself. Our goal is always get the x or the other variable, whatever it is, all by itself. In this case, x. How are we going to do that? We want to get rid of the 4 and we want to get rid of the 7. And if you remember from last time, we always want to save the one that's closest to the x for last. So in this case, we'll do the 4 second and we'll do the 7 first. All right, we want to leave the 4, the one closest to the x, for our last step. All right, so let's get rid of the plus 7. To get rid of the positive 7 or the plus 7, we want to do the opposite of plus, which is minus. All right, so we'll do minus 7 or negative 7 because 7 minus 7 cancels out. All right, but we need to balance the equation by doing the same thing on the right side of the equation, which means under the 35 we're also going to put minus 7. And now we balance the equation, which is good, and we do 35 minus 7. Again, if you need to use a calculator, feel free. That's going to be 28. All right, and we'll bring down the 4x. We'll bring down our equal sign, and we have a new equation here, 4x equals 28. You might remember from last time that the operation going on between the 4 and the x there is multiplication. It's 4 times x. So in order to cancel out that multiplication, we do the opposite of multiply, which is, of course, divide. And we usually write it like this, divided by 4 that way. And that is going to cancel, just like we designed it to. We want it to cancel, so we do that. But we also have to do it on the right side to balance it. So the 4's canceled out. We bring down our x. And 28 over 4, 28 divided by 4, is equal to 7. So x is equal to 7. We could check it. We don't have to. All right, I know I did it right. If you want to check it, that might be a good way to practice. Plug that back into the original problem and see if you get the equation to work. How about one more? Let's do 8 minus 3x is equal to 26. Okay, 8 minus 3x equals 26. So just like we said before, we want to save the thing closest to our x for last. So we'll do this part second, the 3, or the negative 3. And we'll do the 8 first, just because it's farthest away from the x. That's kind of a general rule of thumb that I like to follow. All right, so we'll get rid of that 8. Now we have to be careful, because a lot of people will look at this 8 and see the negative sign next to it and say, aha, let me add 8 to do the opposite of that negative. But we always want to look in front of our number to see what the sign of it is. Is this 8 here negative or positive? Be careful. It's actually positive. If it was negative, the negative sign would be right out in front there, wouldn't it? All right, but there isn't a negative there, so that means the 8 is positive. And in order to cancel out a positive 8, we have to do the opposite, which would be to subtract 8. All right, so 8 minus 8 is 0, which is why it cancels out. And then we have to do it on the other side with the 26. So we write the minus 8 over there to balance the equation. And let's bring everything down. So we're going to bring down not only the 3x, but that negative in front of it, because that negative is still there. We didn't cancel it, so we have to make sure we bring it down. We could also bring down the equal sign. And then 26 minus 8, that's going to give us 18. So negative 3x equals 18. And this looks very similar to a couple that we've just seen in a row now. The operation going on between the negative 3 and the x is multiplication. And so that we have to do the opposite of multiplication, which of course is divide, and we usually write it with that fraction symbol. And under that, we're going to write negative 3. So we haven't done one with a negative number like this before, but it's the same thing. We want to divide by whatever number is there. In this case, it's negative 3. So we divide by negative 3 on the left, which means we do it as well on the right side. The negative 3's cancel on the left side, and we're left with just x. And then 18 over, or divided by negative 3 is negative 6.